Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and the Warlock of Firetop Mountain is a board game created by Games Workshop in 1986 by Steve Jackson, the UK Steve Jackson, for those wondering. It is a board game version or take on the fighting fantasy formula for 2 to 6 players aged 10 to adult. The locals speak in hushed tones of the warlock who lurks beneath the mountain, telling stories of the awesome treasures and perilous monsters to be found there. But you are an adventurer, and stories don't frighten you. You've traveled far in search of treasure and fame, and now's your chance to prove yourself. Together with your fellow warriors, you must venture deep into the bowels of the earth and vanquish the servants of evil to become Lord of Firetop Mountain. Based on the astonishingly successful fighting fantasy gamebook, and they're not kidding, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain has had some 5 to 10 different versions over its decades of existence. Steve Jackson, that's the UK Steve Jackson's, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain is a truly great game that can be enjoyed by 2 to 6 players. You won't need a degree in calculus to understand the rules, that's a funny way of putting that, but even the most sophisticated gamers will find endless hours of enjoyment as they stalk the dungeons in search of glory. With its extra large playing board and clear, colorful counters, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain sets new standards in game design. But above everything else, it's simply great fun. Just a point of contention here, it says that it's going to take 2 hours. The length is 2 hours under the data here. All right, let's see if this lives up to all of the hype. First of all, this comes with a lot of cardboard chits that serve as the cards for our encounters and for the maze, and key reference cards, and I don't have any sort of sortation for them at this time, so that's on me. Yay, welcome to the episode where Ash just fumbles through a bunch of cardboard. Yay! Subscribe and hit that notification bell. Love this. Are you on our mailing list? Send us your name and address and we will send you all the very latest information about new games as soon as they become available. We are constantly striving to improve your games, so fill out the simple card and help us develop the games you want to see. I don't think that they'll honor this. Do you collect miniatures? List your favorite games by any manufacturer. Where did you buy this game? eBay. Goes right to Games Workshop, Chewton Street, on Hilltop, Eastwood, Nottingham. Just set that safely right there. We've got 6 beautifully detailed miniatures. I'd have to probably consult a historian to see if they were Citadel miniatures. Usually Games Workshop is pretty explicit about the miniatures if they are Citadel. This could be from members of the Citadel team or perhaps one of the Citadel sculptors and not just from Citadel. It's one of those rare instances where you have a Games Workshop game and not explicitly Citadel miniatures. We have here adventure sheets for each of our players, and these do very much look like the adventure sheets that come in a standard fighting fantasy book. You have your skill with initial skill, stamina and initial stamina, luck and initial luck, and these stats can change over time while you're playing. You've got your equipment list, your gold, your provisions, your treasure, and 12 different blocks for monster encounters, 12 being kind of a safe, above average amount of monsters that you'll actually encounter. And then the key challenge checklist. Cross off the keys as you find them, then fold over the corner to keep them secret because you will want to keep these secret from the other players. Key challenge cards go here. The sheets are not double-sided, but I've got a full complement of them here so I can play this game over and over again with 1 to 5 other players. Next up, we have this lovely reference sheet telling you about the monsters, which include the undead, the monsters, the monsters, you know, that's the type of monsters called monsters, the fool, and the hex master. Wait a minute. All right. Monsters include monsters and the undead. Special monsters include the ghoul, the hellhound, the vampire, and the wight. And special encounters include the cage trap, the fool, the hex master, the hungry beggar, the lucky find, the pitfall trap, and the sage. This is the reference section, as long as you're reading it correctly, like I was just not. Special encounters further go into page 2 with the spike trap, the thief, the traitor, and the trickster. And then fixed encounter rooms are dragon, fountain of life, gambling halls. Interestingly enough, we have a subtext of in second section. I thought that said second edition at first, so it's not that interesting now. The larder, Shylock the moneylender, and Zagor. For treasure cards, we've got keys, gold pieces, provisions, and then for special treasures, we've got cheese, that's right, cheese, elven boots, enchanted broadsword, eye of the Cyclops, giver of sleep, hypnotic eye, magic sword, map, pickpocket, poison, potion of fortune, potion of invisibility, potion of strength, slumber pipes. And then for our last page of the reference section, we're back to classic Games Workshop behavior, which is to show you all of their other games that are available at the time, such as Cosmic Encounter, Talisman, The Adventure, Talisman Expansion Set, Warrior Knights. I haven't heard of this one yet. I might have to check this one out. Battle Cars, Railway Rivals, Kings and Things, Superpower, Judge Dredd the board game, and Blood Royale. These games were available from all good games shops. Or in case of difficulty, contact. And I just really wanted to point this out. There is a small card here for fighting fantasy board games. If you have enjoyed the Warlock of Firetop Mountain board game and would like to see more fighting fantasy game books converted into games, write to us at the address below. Tell us which FF books you think would make good games. Tell us what you think of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain as well. It looks like not enough people did that for them to make any other board games, except for The Legend of Zagor, which was produced by Parker. We have 6 beautifully illustrated board sections, single-sided. They fit together like puzzle pieces. They remind me of the Dungeon Quest board sections. No, you would not be able to play this with Dungeon Quest. This game will not Dungeon Quest. Don't even ask. I'll show you the 6 individual pieces. This is the upper right corner of the 6-section board, and it includes the maze, which is one of the most pain-in-the-neck sections of any fighting fantasy game book or any game book in general, with the Fountain of Life being discoverable in the upper left corner of the board after you have traversed the maze. I'm going to do things a little bit out of order here, but I just wanted to show you because I thought this was really cool. The maze here is represented in the board game by this twisting and turning series of interconnected catacomb hallways. These corridors go into these spaces marked maze, and you have 6 accompanying maze cards, which you will place down as you encounter these spaces. And these cards will dictate which of these are dead ends. Now, as you can see, you always have a way around just in case you draw any 2 specific cards for options that both result in dead ends, such as in the case here. It's just that going around the extra long way makes it more challenging. So you've got a lot of different combinations. No 2 games will play the same way twice, yada yada. Your maze is ever shifting. I think that this is a pretty cool mechanic that should survive and see other games. Maybe not in the same way, but this can definitely be drawn upon. We have a Warlock's Treasure Chest chit. I imagine this double-sided piece needs to go into the treasure room just above the Warlock's study. I'm angry with Games Workshop that they made all of the chits, the cards, and basically gave them all the exact same font and colors and size, so to efficiently sort through them, well, that doesn't exist. You just have to look at every single one and separate them in order to be able to group them up by treasure or encounter. Very angry, Games Workshop. Feel my rage. 1986 Games Workshop. Where was your head? Obviously stuck the mindset of selling more games and more games. You're not going to sell any more games when your players are distracted, having to sort through all of their cardboard chits and separate them up into pile. If I just separated these before the video, this wouldn't even be an issue though. This is kind of on me. Still sorting. And the words treasure and encounter look very similar at a glance in this font. And then like the more you read the word, the more strange it becomes, the more like out of touch you become with the word. So now I'm double taking the word, like, does that say treasure? Is treasure a real word? Am I saying the word right? Treasure. Okay, we have 8 different kinds of cards here. 4 of them are just single cards: the Dragon's Lair, the Fountain of Life, the Gambling Halls, and Skylock the Moneylender. These are what you call field encounters. The Dragon, for example, has got fixed encounter, skill 10, and stamina 12 on its card. Shylock the Moneylender is a fixed encounter with no stats. The Gambling Halls is a fixed encounter, and the Fountain of Life is a fixed encounter. Our key challenge cards, and these are the cards that have their own space on the adventure sheets here in the corner, consist of a key that says 2, a key that says 7, a key that says blank, a 9, a 5. Okay, so these are just all different kinds of keys. We have treasures here, including the bunch of keys, 3, 4, and 5. The skeleton key, which may be used as any key. Poison, you may poison another player. Pickpocket, you may hire the pickpocket. A bunch of keys with 2, 7, 9, with 1, 6, 8. Orc Ale, add 2 provisions to your total and discard counter. The Potion of Invisibility, you may steal a treasure without a fight, use only once. And more combinations of keys, such as was common in the book. Potion of Fortune restores luck to initial level +1, use once only. Gold pieces, add 5 gold to your total and discard counter. Giver of Sleep kills all undead except whites without a fight. Elven Boots, you may roll 2 dice for movement. And the encounter cards. We've got the Sage, the Pitfall Trap, which is a special encounter, the Hex Master, which is a special encounter, the Troll Monster, which has a skill of 8, a stamina of 9, the Orc, 7 and 5, the Giant Rat, 6 and 5, the Fool, which is a special encounter, and so on. You should basically find all of the monsters that were in the book, and their stats should be very close to those in the book, if not identical. We continue to build the board with the Dragon's Lair, the Larder, and then onward to the Gambling Hall. Yes, we are going backwards, working our way from the end to the beginning. Our lower right corner of the board has the Moneylender and rules for escaping. Lower left corner of the board completes the entrance and has rules for the river. I just found more cards. The Hypnotic Eye may hypnotize your opponent. I need to use this on myself, hypnotize myself into enjoying all of this card sortation. The Larder and the Warlock are these their own unique cards, with the Warlock having a skill of 11 and a stamina of 18. He's a fixed encounter. So there are actually 6 of these special one-shot cards. We have a very short rules book, beautifully illustrated with the original Warlock of Firetop Mountain cover, front-to-back rules. It's actually a version of Games Workshop's rulebook layout that I really like. Something about this light blue text on this clean white background. The way that everything is worded, it makes the game very easy to pick up and learn. It makes the lookup of rules fairly efficient and easy to get to. It's a good thing to review older rulebooks if you're trying to make your own game. See how the greats used to do it. It reminds me of the Dungeon Quest rulebook as well. Welcome to the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, an exciting fantasy board game for 2 to 6 players, aged from 10 to adult. Hey, that's what I said. Before we learn how to play though, let's take a look at these miniatures. These questionably sculpted by Citadel miniatures. They are in a heroic 28mm size. We want to switch to our wide lens so we get a much better look at them. This guy looks a lot like El Adran Sure Shot, but it's not him. We've got a Sir Rohan wannabe right here with his wooden buckler. Sword raised high, very protective helm, but all you could afford was like cut off pants and a wooden shield. A barbarian with a very large, if nondescript, axe. Battle axe and dagger, showing off his strength in a pose that is actually very vulnerable to attack. Classic Games Workshop barbarians never skipped back day. The squat dwarf, he reminds me of another dwarf that I've seen, not sure where though. He has a fantastic beard, horns on his helmet, and a tall axe. His axe is actually a bit taller than the barbarians. He's compensating. A departure from most games is a default hero setup. We have what looks to be a cleric or priest of some kind. He's got that friar haircut. He has his hands in a very peaceful, you have 2 seconds to stop sinning before I smite you with my mace. And that is a very large, imposing weapon he has there. I'm sorry, I mean blessing implement. And a nice pointed hood that he's not wearing at the moment. I would if I had a haircut like that though. Finally, we have a wizard, hand raised to let you know that he is neither late nor early. Complete BS that wizards spout because they're just not timely and they don't want to own up to it. Very long scepter, very questionable symbol there in the center. Nondescript wizard otherwise, impressive beard, pointy hat, artifact worn around waist. These are our heroes. It's like the Hero Quest group with a little bit more steroids. A little bit more to flesh it out. Like we've got the OG Hero Quest group plus the test character that was in the original game design. And then we've got the cleric to round things out. Love that. The way to win this game is to be the first adventurer to reach the Warlock's treasure room and open his treasure chest. The chest is opened with a secret combination of 3 keys. On the way through the dungeon, adventurers must try to discover the combination and find or steal all the necessary keys while surviving the attentions of the ferocious monsters and devious traps which infest it. We'll shuffle the treasure cards and place one face down in each room on the board except for the Warlock study and the treasure room. So all of these rooms get their own treasure card. Though when they say all rooms, they mean every single room on the board, regardless of whether it has a name like Larder or not, because I just put one in every single room except for the 2 that they noted, the Warlock's study and the treasure room, and I used all of the treasure cards that way. If it remotely looks like a room, a treasure card goes there. Take the fixed encounter cards deck, place these cards on their appropriate rooms on the board. The rooms that contain fixed encounters are marked on the board, and in the central pullout section, Shuffle the remaining encounter cards and place one face down on top of each treasure card in all rooms except those already filled by fixed encounter cards. So our fixed encounter cards include the Warlock, the Larder, the Gambling Halls, the Dragon's Lair, Shylock the Moneylender, which will go on the Moneylender space, and the Fountain of Life. And now the encounter cards go on all of these except for the fixed encounters. This is where color coding would have been really helpful, Games Workshop. Well, they've had like almost 40 years to rectify this, so let's hope they learned something from their early days. Does this even count as their early days? I should not see a single card that says treasure. There you are. Now we take the pack of key cards and separate out the 6 blanks. If less than 6 people are playing, we will put the blanks back into the box, but we're going to give 1 blank to each player. That's why there are 6 here. The remaining 9 get shuffled. We place 3 in the treasure room under the treasure chest without anyone seeing what they are. And then the rest of them get evenly distributed to the players, with the leftover key cards getting given to the players with the lowest skill scores when the characters are created. Those of you who have played the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, or you've watched me play it here on the channel, know that the keys are a big deal in this game. They can make or break your ending. It was very cleverly done too, because if you make it to the ending and you find you don't have the right keys, you can't just cheese and go to the correct page, because what they do is tell you to take your keys and add them up, and that's the section of the book that you turn to. So you'll actually have different endings depending on which set of keys you got. They've thought of everything, and that's why the Warlock of Firetop Mountain is the gamebook standard. The maze cards get shuffled and placed on their respective maze spaces, like so, like we looked at earlier. Then each player takes a playing piece of their choice, places it on the entrance area, ready to start, like so. Then each player must create his or her own adventure by rolling dice and recording the scores on the adventure sheet. Suffice it to say that the higher these numbers, the stronger a character will be. A stronger character will have a slightly better chance of winning the game, but there is plenty of opportunity for players to gang up on another player who is doing particularly well. That's right, this is a PvP kind of game. People will be fighting each other competitively to get to the end. Well, maybe not fighting each other at every turn, but there will be ways to screw each other player over. An adventurer's skill score represents their abilities at swordsmanship and general fighting expertise. Skill scores will not change much during an adventure. An adventurer's stamina score represents their will to survive, overall fitness, determination, and general constitution. This changes constantly during the adventure as a result of battles, injuries, and so on. If this falls to 0, your character is unfortunately dead. Stamina can be restored by eating provisions. And an adventurer's luck score reflects how naturally lucky or unlucky that character is. During the adventure, players will often be instructed to test for luck in order to determine whether an event will go favorably or not. In addition to these scores, each adventurer should prepare for battle by kitting out with the following items of equipment: a sword, a rucksack, a lantern, and provisions, 3 per adventurer. These are things that get noted on your adventure sheet. You can take away from your initial skill score to determine how many extra provisions and or gold pieces that you can start out with. A player with a skill score of 9 can choose any combination of 3 provisions or gold pieces, like 1 provision and 2 gold pieces. As a hint to new players, provisions are generally more useful than gold pieces, but a mix of both is best. Each player should give their adventurer a name and decide whether they are male or female. They're now ready for battle. And just like in the original Warlock of Firetop Mountain, each time you test for luck, you will take 1 luck point away from your total, regardless of whether you were lucky or unlucky. Each player will roll 1 die to move. This is the maximum number of spaces an adventurer may move along a passageway. You can move forwards, backwards, sideways, not diagonally. If you roll a 1 for movement, you may immediately make what's called a key challenge, which is sort of like a game of Go Fish, in which the player says something like, I think the correct keys include 1 numbered 5. This is kind of where the combination of keys mechanic comes into play. You've got to have the right keys in order to unlock the treasure room at the very end after you defeat the Warlock. Remember those key cards that we split up at the very beginning of the game? They were all unique. So you'll determine what keys are at the very end, hidden under the treasure. By playing this game of diminishing probability, if one of the players has the 5 key, once you have challenged for it, they must show it. And this eliminates the possibility that there is a 5 key in the treasure room. This is something that everybody will want to take note of. Well, actually, all of the adventurers that are playing will hold their key cards up for the key challenger to see, or actually they'll just slide them forward and the key challenger will pick them up and look at them. That's also why there are blank keycard tiles, because you can set that down and push it towards the key challenger. And then when they look, they can see that that player does not have the key number 5 in this example. So it keeps everything nice and stealthy and quiet and secret. I love this rule here, 12.4. During the game, players are encouraged to threaten, bribe, or confer with each other in any way that they wish in order to gain information about each other's key cards. But no exchanges, revelations, or any other collusions, love that, may take place between adventurers unless they are on the same space. Players are allowed to talk to each other to arrange meetings, but cards cannot be exchanged or revealed until 2 adventurers are on the same space or in the same room. And as players will discover, a meeting with a stronger adventurer will often result in a double cross. I love that. At first, when I saw this game and I took a brief look at the rules, I just thought, you know what, this is just a will it print money for back in the day. Wouldn't be unheard of, right? Games Workshop, but no, Games Workshop has never, and I don't think ever will, make a game in which they didn't put a very respectable modicum of thought towards the design. I can see now why it would take 2 hours to play, but we will now go into the summary of play. Setting off from the entrance, the first player rolls 1 die and moves his adventure along the passageway in whichever way they wish. Whoops, I keep knocking these guys over. It's fine, I'll leave. I have to go to my next destination anyway, but it doesn't matter when I arrive there, for a wizard is neither ever late. If a token ends its move on an unoccupied passageway, the turn ends and it passes to the next player. But if the adventurer lands on a space, a room, or occupied by another adventurer, the two they don't have to, they may fight, exchange information, or ignore each other. So you can share spaces, evidently. During the game, adventurers will have opportunities to make key challenges in an attempt to discover the secret combination of keys which will open the Warlock's treasure chest and win the game. But if an adventurer arrives in a room, the encounter card, if it is present, is revealed. So our elf goes into the encounter room here. We lift up the encounter and we reveal it. It's a werewolf monster with a skill of 8 and a stamina of 8. Taking note of any special details listed on the center page pull-out section, if a creature is defeated, or in some cases, whatever happens, the adventurer may then take the treasure card underneath. The turn then ends and passes to the next player. In this case, the elf would have gotten the slumber pipes and send any encountered monster to sleep on a future turn. The river has 3 ways across. You can pay 3 gold coins for the ferry. You can punt the raft across, testing for luck. If you're lucky, you arrive safely. If you're not, you fall in the river. If you do fall in the river, you have to fight a crocodile with skill 7 and stamina 6. If you lose, you die. If you return, you will return to the south bank. If you win, you will return to the south bank. Words, Ash. Or you can cross on the rickety bridge. Roll 1 die, 1 to 4 is safe, 5 to 6, fall in. Same result, fight crocodile, lose, die. Just save your money and take the raft, it's the safest way. Battles are fairly straightforward and they mimic the way that battles are fought in most fighting fantasy game books. Each participant in the battle will roll 2d6, add their skill scores, and announce the totals. The winner of this competition will inflict a strike upon their opponent, and their opponent will lose 2 stamina. If a battle is going badly for a particular adventurer, they can choose to escape. Can't do that until after at least 1 round of combat, and it has to be declared before either party rolls the dice to begin another attack round. But an escape is always successful. However, the penalties for escaping can vary. To escape, the adventurer must roll 1 die and consult the escape table printed on the bottom right-hand corner of the board. This means you could lose stamina, you could incur no additional penalties, or you could lose your lantern, and even 1 treasure card chosen at random. At this point, you might have noticed that there are a number of trapdoors on the board that have numbers on them. There are 2 sets of secret passages on the board, 1 before the river and 1 after it. Whoops, God, here, you guys get to take a nap with the fishes. Wash them down the river. Entrances to secret passages are numbered and colored. A secret passage may only be entered from the passageway square next to the iron ring on the secret passage entrance. So like right here, for example, there's the iron ring. Open up the door. Did you like that sound effect? Go into the secret passage. And yes, the secret passages on the upper section of the board are yellow numbers in red squares, while all of the secret passages on the lower section of the board are white numbers in black squares. You must end your turn immediately landing on a secret passage, and the next turn you can move to any of the other secret passage entrances within the same area of the same color. Roll the dice as usual and continue to move. The numbers on these They don't mean anything. You don't have to roll for that specific number or anything like that. But secret passages are lit by the lantern carried by each adventurer. If an adventurer loses his lantern or has it stolen, he cannot find his way through secret passages, easily. If you enter a secret passage without a lantern, then you must roll 1 die at the beginning of your next turn, and the number indicated is the area where you will emerge from the secret passage network. This could mean that you come out at the same place you go in. If an adventurer dies, in other words, if all the stamina that you have is reduced to 0, all your treasure cards are placed on the board where you died. These treasures are deemed to have been hidden. Only that player may reclaim these items, and only if he returns to the place of death. That's right. A player whose adventurer dies in the game may roll up another character and re-enter the game from the entrance. You can have your vengeful brother come in, trace your steps to your treasure, and claim them. Nobody else may do so. All key cards held by the original adventurer are transferred to this new reincarnation. The last section of the manual has an example of play, which is always appreciated, but at this point, it's really just a luxury. It's just a convenience, a welcome one, but a convenience nonetheless, because this does seem like a really fun time, a very classy presentation, well thought out, simple rule set, definitely something that I would teach to kids. And by kids, I mean my fellow 40-year-old players. Being 40, we all look like this. Just top marks for the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. And so that is the presentation of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, a classy, old Games Workshop game. I hope you'll comment down below what you thought of this. And as always, I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, goodbye for now.